I'm Gary Franchi, and we've got an exclusive interview that will restore your faith in America. Shane Bouvet and his father Don just returned from President Trump's summer soiree at the White House. But what they learned from Secret Service about Biden's presidency will shock you. Now, Shane's a man who went from a small town of 900 people to the Oval Office through pure dedication to Trump's movement. And his story proves that in America, faith and patriotism can still open the most powerful doors in the world. But tonight's revelation goes beyond their personal journey. A Secret Service agent just confirmed what we suspected all along about Biden's mental state, and it's worse than we imagined. From Biden walking into fences to requiring constant babysitting, you're going to hear the truth they tried to hide for 4 years. Let's go to the interview. Shane Bouvet. Now, you're in D.C. right now, right?
Yeah, actually in DC, I got to go into the White House today. And Gary, what I find very, I was talking to Secret Service, and they said that Biden would just walk out of the White House and just run into the fences. And they said they pretty much had to babysit him his whole presidency. I mean, that says a lot right there.
Always late.
Always late.
What were you at the White House for today?
We were actually taking a tour. I was hoping to get a hold of the president, which we finally did, but it was later. So we're hoping that we'll be able to go in tomorrow.
And I noticed that you posted on Facebook, you took a Tesla out to Washington, D.C. Whose Tesla was that?
One of my great friends, J.R. Majewski, who ran for Congress in Ohio and was endorsed by President Trump.
Right on. Are you with JR now?
Yeah, J.R. Well, he ended up going to bed, so.
He went to
yeah,
bed?
I'm with JR. Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
That's what I said. I know, that's what I said, but.
I was hoping you guys would both be able to join us.
I know. My dad's here, though.
Oh, let's see your dad.
Yeah, come on in, Dad. Yeah, I'll talk him into it. He's getting ready to come on.
All right,
Come on, Dad. It's Gary Franchi.
So I know that the White House hosted what they called a summer soiree today. Was that why you guys were here?
Yeah, that's why we're here. There was some kind of scheduling conflict because President Trump was talking to the Chinese president or something like that today, I believe.
Yeah, he was on a call with Putin for like 75 minutes today.
Wow. Yeah, so I think that's the reason why it got canceled. But there's a young man right here. President Trump paid for all of his chemotherapy, and we're blessed. But didn't the Secret Service say that Biden would get lost all the time? They had to babysit him.
Yeah, he said whenever he walked up, I went directly up to the Secret Service and asked him myself. And he told me that he said that he would often walk out of the White House and walk right into the damn fence.
Come on.
And he was always getting lost. He's late for everything he went to. He says it was long hours.
He said it was the longest 4 years he ever had.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, the Secret Service actually revealed that to you. That's really odd.
Yes.
That they would be that.
Yep. He was standing out. He was standing out on the guarding one of the gateways is going in.
Yeah, we pretty much talked about why we were there and our relationship with President Trump. And he's like, listen, I got to be honest. That guy would get lost, run into the fence, and it was the longest damn 4 years I ever had as a Secret Service agent.
He would walk into the fence. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, I remember there was one video that we played a few times back during that administration. And, it was one of those moments where the president, I believe, probably getting off of Marine One or something, was because I've been there so many times now. I understand the layout and how the logistics of the area. So when the president leaves Marine One, he walks up the sidewalk and then enters into the Oval Office sometimes, or he enters in through the main entrance at the White House. So I think what Biden was doing that time is he was supposed to make a turn to go into the Oval Office entrance, but he just kept going.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
That's pretty
Remember
much
that?
Yeah, that's yeah.
I remember that Secret Service guy on the TV, and that he went like this, and he just kept on walking. And finally, somebody else, I think, stepped in and said, "You got to turn left or right here."
Unreal.
And it's with this auto pen gate. Wonder what's going to happen there. All the whole auto pen.
Yeah, auto pen gate. That's huge. We've been tracking that here. And then, so I've been watching your posts on Facebook because I remember like about a month ago, you're like, "Hey, who wants to go to the White House with me?" And I'm like, "Oh, cool. What's this about?" I couldn't make it. We got too much going on here. So, but I saw your Facebook post. Looks like you got a good group of people that went down there with you.
Yeah, well, actually, we're gonna have a big group on the 18th. Is I want to take people who actually did it for, of course, the right reasons. As you know, Gary, I'm a loyal guy, and a lot of people put a lot of time into this, and I want to take all my friends and give them that experience because they deserve it the most.
Well, there's nothing that's more exciting than being able to go to the White House and just be in the seat of power where history is made, and just to be part of it. And
And well, look
no,
what you've done, Gary. That's one thing is that I truly revere about you is you always did it for the right reasons. You did it for America. You did it for your country. And I always say you're like the original. You know, like the first edition Charizard. You know what I mean? Gary is the man, first edition. You know, that's why I always call him the first edition. But no, I really respect everything you do, Gary, and everything you've done for my family. I can't ever thank you enough for it. So thank you.
yeah, no, you were in the movie, and your father was in the film. The Man You Don't Know. You've got a book out that people can purchase. Do you have a copy of the book around by chance?
Oh,
I don't know,
I
maybe you
don't. I
don't.
don't. We're in actually the second phase of revising the book. So
Okay, and tell people about the book real quick.
yeah, it's A Man Misunderstood. Talks about my journey into the Oval Office. My whole story is based on faith and showing that you can come from a village of 900 people and go to the Oval Office. Nothing's impossible to do. If you do it for God, do it for country, and never expecting anything in return, you could have the chance to go to the Oval Office. And that's what my book demonstrates, is showing that you can come from a small town and make it in Washington, D.C., and become friends with the most powerful man in the world.
And you essentially had like you were just a volunteer during the first Trump campaign, and like tirelessly out there just pounding the pavement for President Trump, and eventually you you got to meet him. The president paid for your father's cancer therapy. Like, can you give us a little bit of the backstory to some of that?
Oh, you want me to tell that?
Yeah, do you want to tell the backstory, Dad?
Yeah, I'll tell it.
Yeah. First, I'll just say this. Yeah, Dad, if you want to get in here and say something, I know he had something to say.
Hey, Gary.
Howdy, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy. We were sitting at the kitchen table after all this happened, and I told my wife, I said, we haven't got a bill from that place yet. And I went to a very good cancer hospital up by Chicago. And a lot of people don't know it, but President Trump, he wanted me to go to MD Anderson. He said, all your flights are paid, everything's paid. I want to give you the best care possible. And I said, sir, I understand you're a billionaire and I respect that. I said, but where I'm going now is good and I don't want to waste any of your money. And never once did I tell him where I went. He never asked and I never said. Well, I was sitting at the kitchen table and asked my wife, I said, we haven't even got a bill from the hospital yet. And I said, what should I do? Should I call him, let it go, or just wait to get this big thick envelope in the mail, a couple 100,000 or whatever it's going to be? Well, when I finally picked up the phone and called him, you got to give a password and everything to your account and everything for HIPAA laws and all that. And she kind of stopped for a minute. She cleared her throat and she came back on the phone. There's probably about a 30-second delay or so. And she goes, your bills has been paid. And I said, how is that? I haven't even got a bill yet. So I know I haven't paid it. And she stopped a minute, got quiet. She goes, do you know a Donald J. Trump? And I said, yes.
Wow.
She says, your bills has been paid. So I asked her, I said, can I ask how much that bill was? And she said it was $242,000. I was up there for a week straight of doing nothing but testing. Then I had eight or 10 rounds of chemo. And that every Friday I had to take the Amtrak up there to Chicago, and they picked me up at Union Station and took me out there to the hospital and all that stuff. So yeah, that's his heart.
Wow.
And I told Shane from the day one, I said, one of these days I want to sit down with him and look him in the eye, shake his hand, and say, thanks for saving my life. And I got that opportunity. What was supposed to turn out to be a 10 or 20-minute meeting ended up lasting 2 hours. Well, I talked to General Kelly in the Oval Office, Hope Hicks, Kellyanne Conway, and all of them, they treated us like family.
Wow.
Yeah, President Trump goes, this is your Oval Office.
Yep.
This ain't my Oval Office. This is your Oval Office. And I said, wow, that says something.
Wow.
But it all started, Gary, from I was front page of the Washington Post.
Over $200,000 bill. You're expecting this in the mail, never shows up. You call the hospital, and the operator's like, "Do you know Donald J. Trump?" I mean,
Yes.
I could only imagine her, like, as she's looking it up, like, she must have been shocked. Like, and then, like, to be able to deliver that news to you. I mean,
Yeah.
when you heard her say that, what was your immediate emotional reaction? Like, what happened at that very second?
Well, about what it's happening now, because every time I talk about it, I get a little teary eyed, and because I've never asked anybody for anything in my life, and I've worked hard my whole life, and I was expecting to pay for that over the next 200 years or whatever, But when she first told me that, I was sitting at the table, with my phone stretched out in my hands and everything. I just dropped the phone, and
Wow.
I started crying. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Amazing.
Grown man crying. And every time I'll even hear Shane in the living room to this day listening to the tape over and over again about how President Trump on the inauguration of 2016, he calls me before the inauguration, and I just had chemo and back surgery, just walked from my living room to the kitchen, hobbling with a cane, and my phone rang. And I thought, son of a gun, man. And I knew who it was because each one of them's got a different ringtone. I knew it was Shane. I knew he was out there, and I picked up the phone. I hurry up, got back in there as fast as I could, and I said, hey, buddy, what's going on? And he goes, Dad, you ain't ever going to believe who I'm sitting here with. Didn't even cross my mind it was President Trump. I was naming baseball players, country singers. He goes, President-elect Donald J. Trump. And Trump got on the phone, and the first thing he told me was, you have a great son here.
Wow.
And I said, yes, sir, I do. So
Beautiful.
That's it.
Beautiful. Amazing story. I'm really glad you could share that with our viewers tonight. It's amazing.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you, Gary, for letting us tell our story. It means a lot. It means a lot.
I remember covering it years and years ago when it happened right here on this channel, and it hit me real hard, because I lost my mother to cancer, so I know, the destruction it can cause, just inside of a family when you lose someone so close, and the fact that President Trump stepped up and made it possible for you guys for Shane to keep his father, and not to succumb to something so horrible, and then to pay the bill for it on top of it all. I mean, that just shows you, man.
Yeah,
just shows you.
That's what people don't understand. That whenever I tell them, I'm like, they'll have something bad to say about him, and I'm like, you don't even really know him. Oh yeah, we see what's going on. We tell by his attitude on TV. No, you don't, because if there's anybody that loves this country, it's that man. He loves America, and he loves American citizens.
Well, what's interesting too, is that, first of all, you said, I don't want you to pay. I don't want you to spend your money in helping me or whatever. You're very clear about it, and you didn't tell him where your treatment was going to be.
Right.
I mean, so he actually had to do the legwork. I'm sure he, contacted one of his people to track it down and figure out exactly where it was all taking place. I mean, it's not like he was able to just, pick up the phone and make the payment. He had to do the legwork and the homework to figure it out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that there was work involved to make it happen.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that is true. I never really thought of it like that. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have never once told him where I was getting treated at. He wanted me to go to MD Anderson.
He was determined. He was 100% determined to pay that bill for you.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's something I'll never be able to repay.
Well, Gary, I also got to tell your followers, give you credit because you're the only one that would actually air this story. Fox News wouldn't give it much attention. Of course, CNN wouldn't give it any attention. But one guy who stepped up to the plate that really told the story how it should be is Gary Franchi. And I just want to tell your viewers, I'm blessed and humbled for that. And thank you, Gary, for what you've done for me and my dad. I can't ever thank you enough, but it means a lot to us. It really does.
And we're blessed to have your friendship.
Yeah, most importantly, we're blessed with that.
No, and
Gary, I remember, I'm sorry, but I remember meeting you for the first time up in a friend's house up in a suburb of Chicago when you first told me, and you had tears in your eyes when you were telling me about your mom.
Yeah.
And I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, cancer's a horrible thing. And, Joe Biden said he was going to cure it. That never happened. And now you guys are at the White House. You have the Secret Service giving you guys some inside stories about the truth about the Biden administration. Karine Jean-Pierre is releasing her book. She's leaving the Democrat Party, trying to save face before the auto pen subpoenas start coming down. What's your take right now as far as, we're what, 17, 18, 19 weeks into the Trump presidency? I mean, you guys obviously MAGA all the way. What are your thoughts on like where we're at in the country with President Trump back at the helm?
I think the biggest thing is he's doing great, but I'd like to see some of the costs coming down for the middle class people because it hasn't hit around where we live at yet. I mean, food and everything's, exploding.
Well, we live in Illinois, and as you know, it's
Yeah, you know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we got pork chop up there.
Yeah, Jelly Belly, Pritzker.
Pritzker, yeah. In which they're trying to turn this into a communist state. What are they doing, Gary? They're setting up for illegal aliens wellness center or care center. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it's called, but I can't remember what it.
Well, hey, Gary, thanks for having me on. I'm going to step off of here and let Shane have the time, and you two get reacquainted. Thanks for having me on, sir. And God bless you, buddy.
God bless you too. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Shane, you've been making the circuit lately. You've been doing some speaking. You've got your book. You're back at the White House. Tell me a little bit about what's next for Shane Bouvet. Clearly, I can see your star is rising higher and higher every day, and it's exciting to witness that. I mean, from being a volunteer for the Trump organization in 2016, to having President Trump personally affect your family, to being in the film A Man You Don't Know, to your book now, speaking engagements in the Republican circuit. What's next for Shane Bouvet?
Honestly, that's a great question, Gary. I often think about it more often than not. I really want to do a podcast. I want to. We look at these politicians like Abraham Lincoln, but we never really talk about the trials and errors and the failures that he's been through. I want to capture the human element of politicians, make it more entertaining, and you kind of inspired me, I want to do a podcast. I want to inspire, America like you have, Gary, that gives people a chance. And that's really what I want to do. A lot of my passions came from you, and your wife, and showing that what you do. I want to be the guy who bridges the gap and shows these politicians at a human level.
Well, it's not that difficult to start a podcast. I mean, I could, if you ever need any tips or advice or,
Yeah.
What kind of camera or microphone setup, it's really just about being true, being just real. And you could start it through on YouTube. You can do it on X. I mean, like right now, we're streaming live on Rumble. We're streaming live on X and as well as YouTube, and even on LinkedIn and in Instagram. So we're simulcasting across all platforms right now. So I'm more than happy to show you the ropes. And
Yeah,
but
I
I
love
will.
that.
I'll tell you that it's not easy. I mean, we try to do this at least 5 nights a week. We collect all the news stories and we talk about the news stories. So it's really about trying to figure out what is your angle. You said you want to make highlight the personal stories of different politicians. That's one thing. That's certainly an angle you could approach at.
Well, actually, Gary, today I want to also capture the whistleblowers. I feel like those are unsung heroes that actually had 2 whistleblowers today who were girls that went on the island with Jeffrey Epstein. So we're going to focus. It's going to be powerful. I'm going to make my first episode. I have a lot of these people from The Man You Don't Know, producers that are also willing to help me out on this. And like yourself, I know I can come to you for advice. But I got 2 whistleblowers that literally, man, you talk about tears rolling out of your eyes, listening to these stories about these girls that literally went to Epstein's island. And man, I tell you what, Gary, that's what I want to capture, whistleblowers. I feel like they deserve a platform where they can go on and tell the truth.
Where do you think you would record it or broadcast it from?
Pretty much what I want to do is different cornfields, different scenery, have a podcast that's outside. As you know, our vice president's kind of hillbilly ideology. I don't know. He's a hillbilly himself, and I really, kind of am a hillbilly, kind of. So, I want to bring that out.
What I was going to say is before we had the technical difficulties, imagine getting a flatbed pickup truck or just a truck that has a nice big flatbed.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then you put a couch, a big couch and a lazy boy, put it on there, and then you could drive that around to different locations.
Yeah, that's smart.
You can record that way. You don't have to keep moving the furniture. You're just moving the vehicle around.
Yeah, that's smart. Actually, that's great.
Yeah, and then you could just set up your camera and you could run the battery off a generator somewhere or just record from a camera. I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it, man.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. I actually really like that, Gary. Thank you for mentioning that. That's a lot easier. That is a lot easier than moving that couch.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. You'd just be driving around with a freaking couch on the back and just showing up anywhere. You could do it in a parking lot, in a cornfield, an old drive-in theater. How cool would that look? If you were sitting in the middle of an old drive-in theater,
Yeah, actually, I like that. That's what I want to do. Actually, you get my vision, Gary. You get my vision.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, Shane, I thank you for chiming in tonight. And when are you coming back?
I'll be back the 18th in Washington, D.C. Are you going to be here on the 18th, Gary? Or
no. I'm still waiting for my freaking real ID to get processed. But I might be going to the NATO summit. I'm still waiting to find out if I have access to get there. Because I know that Trump is, I believe, going to the NATO summit in the Netherlands, so that would be fun.
Oh, well. Yeah,
so we'll see what happens there.
All right, Gary. First, I want to say thank you for having me on, and tell your wife I said hi, and thank you, thank her as well. You guys have been great. I love you both, and thank you for having me on.
All right, Shane. Good to see you.
Good seeing you, brother.
All right. Now, what you just witnessed is the America we're fighting to preserve, where a small-town volunteer's dedication catches the eyes of a billionaire president who then saves his father's life with a $242,000 gift. No publicity, no strings attached, just one American helping another. Shane and Don Bouvet, they represent everything right about the MAGA movement: loyalty, faith, and service without expecting anything in return. But equally important is what that Secret Service agent revealed. Biden was so mentally gone he'd walk straight into fences and get lost, leaving his own office. They had to babysit a sitting president for 4 years while the media called us conspiracy theorists. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Trump quietly paid medical bills while Biden couldn't even find his way around the White House. That's why we fight, and that is why this truth matters. So thanks to the Bouvets for sharing their incredible story with us today.